Going into the Backrooms, I had no idea there was already a YouTube series. I went in completely blind. And honestly, I'm glad I did, because I think it allowed me to see something a lot of people missed. So keep that in mind as you watch this video. I really have limited knowledge of the YouTube series. I'm only talking about what I saw in the movie. When the movie came out, a lot of people said it wasn't scary. And on the surface, I kind of understand why. There aren't a lot of jump scares, and the monster chasing people it was kind of corny. But there was something about the movie that stayed with me. Something deeply unsettling. And it wasn't really the Backrooms themselves, because when you strip away all the yellow walls, the endless hallways, and all the mystery, what you're really left with is a story about two people, Clark and Mary. And I think understanding those two characters reveals one of the darkest secrets hidden in the movie. Not what the Backrooms are, but what they do. So let's start with Clark. Clark runs a furniture store called Captain Clark's, and one of the main ways we learn about Clark is through his therapy sessions with Mary, who we'll get to in a minute. One of Mary's techniques is roleplay. She asked Clark to roleplay one of the most important moments of his life, the night he was kicked out of his house by his wife. In the roleplay, Clark comes home late after working and wakes his wife up. After apologizing, he admits he stopped for a couple of drinks, but when his wife starts pressing him about it, something comes pouring out. Years of resentment. Clark explains that he pays for everything. He pays for the house, he pays for the food, he's paying for her law school, while she gets to chase her dreams. Meanwhile, he put his own dreams of becoming an architect on hold. And what's important about this scene isn't whether Clark is right or wrong. What's important is that this is the story that Clark tells himself. The story of sacrifice. The story of being overlooked. The story of giving everything and getting nothing back. And it's a very human thing. Most of us have a story like that. A conversation we replay. A moment we wish we could change. An argument we keep having long after it's over. A version of ourselves we're still trying to defend. Through this scene, we learn who Clark really is. He's angry, he's resentful, and he's stuck. Now we have Mary. And I actually think Mary is a little more complicated because she's almost a contradiction. Mary is a therapist, a successful one. She has commercials on television. She has books. She has tapes. Her slogan is, "The window within." She helps people escape the prisons of their own minds. The problem is that Mary can't seem to escape hers. Most of what we learn about Mary comes through memories of her childhood. Her mother was mentally ill and kept her isolated inside the house. There are scenes where the windows are covered with newspaper, scenes where Mary is scolded simply for looking outside. In another scene, Mary watches a little girl playing with her mother. The memory affects her so deeply that she immediately has to take medication. So Mary spends her life helping other people to find freedom. Yet she remains trapped in her own past. And that's why these stories matter. Because Clark and Mary are very different people. But they're both living inside stories that constantly replay in their minds. For Clark, it's sacrifice and resentment. For Mary, it's fear and confinement. Different stories, same loop. And that's when I started noticing something interesting about the Backrooms themselves. There are several scenes that suggest the Backrooms don't just contain copies of things. They create them. Rooms are replicated, furniture is replicated, pictures are replicated, entire spaces are replicated over and over again. And every time a room is copied, something seems to be lost. Details disappear, objects vanish, the copies become simpler, more stripped down, more empty. I noticed that pattern and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Now, remember that first therapy session? The role play between Clark and Mary? The one where Clark pretended to be himself on the night of his marriage, and Mary played the role of his wife. Well, there was another role play. We don't know exactly how long Clark has been trapped in the Backrooms, but it seems like it's been a while. Eventually, he calls Mary and tells her that he thinks he's found the window. He tells her he won't be coming back. It's a lie. Mary goes looking for him and ends up trapped in the Backrooms herself. Before long, Clark captures her and ties her down. And I couldn't stop thinking about Mary's past. As a child, Mary wasn't allowed to leave the house. She wasn't even allowed to look out the windows. Her entire childhood was spent trapped inside someone else's fear. And now here she is again, stuck inside. Only this time, there are no windows at all. But before Clark begins the role play, he tells Mary about these replicas. He explains that they don't feel pain. He stabs one to prove it. Nothing happens. He explains that they don't eat. They don't think. And that's the part Clark seems to love the most. They don't think. Clark talks about how peaceful that must be. How amazing it would be to exist without thoughts constantly running through your head. Then he takes the hair from one of the replicas and places it on Mary's head like a wig. And he tells her they're going to do the role play again. Only this time, he wants an apology. This scene begins exactly where the first therapy session began. Clark comes home. He apologizes for waking her. He says he stopped at the bar for a drink. Mary responds the way his wife did. And then Clark takes control of the story. He talks about how he paid for everything, how he took care of everyone, how he supported her through law school, how he sacrificed his dream of becoming an architect, how he gave and gave and gave. Everything always leads back to the same place. Clark's story is that he is the provider. I take care of everything. Appreciate me. Love me. Validate me. That's the apology he came here for. But Mary can't give it to him. She tries, and then she reaches a breaking point. She looks at Clark and finally tells him the truth. I can't help you. I can't help you, Clark. And then she tells him what she believes his real problem is. That he blames everyone else for his life. That he complains and whines. That he refuses to let go. And then she says something that completely changed the way I viewed this movie. She tells him, you can stay. On the surface, she's talking about the Backrooms. If Clark loves this place so much, he can stay here forever. But she's also talking about the story. Clark can stay inside that story for the rest of his life if he wants to. He can stay in the place where he's always right, where everyone else is wrong, where he's the victim, where he's the martyr, where he's still waiting for the apology that never comes. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized Mary wasn't only talking to Clark. She was talking to her mother. The woman who spent her life trapped inside a house, trapped inside fear, trapped inside a story she couldn't escape. Mary had spent her entire life trying to save her, trying to understand her, trying to help her, and now she's finally admitting something she never could before. You can stay. You can stay in that house. You can stay in that fear. You can stay in that story. But I'm leaving. Because unlike Clark, Mary's story isn't about staying. It's about finally walking away. And that's when I realized something. This role play isn't really about Clark's divorce anymore. It's about truth. Clark thinks he wants an apology, but what he really wants is validation. He wants someone to tell him that the story he's been carrying around all these years is true. that he sacrificed everything, that he's the provider, that he's the victim, that everyone else failed him, and Mary refuses to give it to him. Not because she's being cruel, but because she understands something that Clark doesn't. You can't save someone who wants to stay inside their story. And suddenly, everything clicked. The Backrooms replicate rooms. They replicate furniture, they replicate pictures, they replicate people. And every copy seems to lose something, until eventually, all that's left is the thing underneath. The thing that never changed. The thing that couldn't be left behind. And I think that's the real horror of the Backrooms. Not that you get lost in it. Not that it kills you. Not that it creates monsters. The real horror is what happens when there's nothing left to hide behind. When every distraction is gone. When every excuse is gone. When every mask is gone. Until all that's left is the thing you could never let go of. For Clark, maybe that's resentment. Maybe it's bitterness. Maybe it's the need to be validated. Maybe that's why his replica looks the way it does. And if that's true, then the ending becomes even more disturbing. Because we know Clark gets a replica, but so does Mary. And that means the same process that happened to Clark is happening to her. Which raises a question I haven't been able to stop thinking about. If the Backrooms stripped everything away from you, what would remain? What truth would remain? What story have you been carrying around for so long that it has become who you are? What would your replica look like?